They have even opened the African version of Medium, which has been running online for 2 years. So there is that opportunity of us identifying where can we go, where can we take our content. There is Babalmed in Marseille. It's also a big market that also takes care of performing arts artists from Africa. Joel has performed there. He has had opportunities.
This is Joel Sabunja.
Joel Sabunja has been there. So it's these are some of the areas. Then when we go to theater, there are theater festivals. There are installation, video mapping, events and festivals. There are so many fashion shows. Paris or France is known for fashion. How can we work with people like Stella Tar to start really, because she was there, she knows where to talk to, how to engage. She's in the fashion industry. How can we start tapping into that connection and relation and start building our fashion designers? So start showcasing more in France. So these are the things I think we need to start cultivating and making sure that our artists, our performing industry is aware of these opportunities. But most of the time, when you talk about these opportunities of performing arts, so people mostly think about music performing.
And now DIT, that's the reason why DIT is coming in, because we've tried to create this awareness that the designers or the tailors must be supported in this industry, and also other stakeholders. Because being a fashion president, I'm not just talking about designers being a designer, but all the industry I'm talking about, the people who supply us machines. We have Kiembe people, Kiembe sewing machines. We have the people supplying us with fabrics. We have people teaching. We need journalists, people who can talk right about fashion, present nice pictures, not the pictures that people aim at, taking knickers for the models. Yeah. That's not what we are looking at. We are trying to address it nicely and properly. Yeah. So the reason why I'm doing that, abantu basobole okwekkiririzamu that guno mulimu gwa beeyi. DIT has already assessed us and many other centers that have been put outside there for people, the tailors who are already skilled, to go and be assessed so they can be accredited. If you have good thoughts, maybe you have a birowozo ebirungi you want to table in the parliament, you can as well be able to stand as a parliamentary, as an MP. You get a point. But before, luli babade batuita omutunzi na abo batunzi, like minimizing. When you fail exams, try okutunga. It's not for failures. This is for really genuine people with brains, because there's a lot of mathematics, there's so much geometry, statistics in clothing. Come on, you cannot fail elsewhere and think you're going to try it. You try it, decide. Yeah.
Welcome to the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila on this fine particular day where we get to discuss, the performing arts in Uganda, all across Africa, and of course, looking into the new Africa-France relationship. What does it really mean to the performing art? Of course, we are going through, the series of discussing the new French relationship with Africa, or the new Africa-French relationship. I don't know which one the other one makes sense, but yes. And of course, to join me in this discussion this morning is a resident panelist. He was here last week. He broke quite a number of things down for those of you who are creative and in the creative art industry. Faizo Chiwewa is the founder and artistic director of Bayimba Cultural Foundation, straight out of Kampala to the rest of the world. is the foundation, doing great stuff, you know, Bayimba for many of the festivals that have been holding all these years. And of course, Faizo is more qualified to be part of this conversation. Faizo, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Eddie.
Yes, and good to have you here. You traveled from the island back to Kampala this morning. You ran into some very interesting things with the policeman controlling traffic. You are the one driving. How did that go?
No, it was good, you know, things you do for friends, just to get on the show.
You are trying to be creative with the...
No, actually, you know how it is with the morning traffic on Mokono, Ginger Road.
Yes.
It's really busy. And then I was trying to be here on time, but, you know, I didn't manage. But anyway, I'm here.
Well, welcome back to the program.
Thanks.
We want to start the program from a very interesting point of view, Faizo. I mean, we are on the series of discussing the new Africa-France relationship. What does it really mean from the creative art industry? And this time round, we are looking at the performing arts. Performing arts, many of you made it to Montpellier, you know, for that conference 2021 summit. And many of the people who are there are people who we believe were representing our own interest. But particularly, what does this relationship mean to people who are in the performing arts industry? I mean, you are a programmer.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about it last week, it's really very important that we look at the relation as a meant to be two-way, not to be like, okay, we are all looking up to France as the you know, the bread giver, but we also have to start baking our own bread and maybe build some bakeries. And this is where I think the relationship is really about offering the opportunities for us, the programmers, and not only in Uganda, but the rest of the continent. And as we said last time, that really the idea of opening it up to the Anglophone Africa is a very good opportunity to kind of balance the investment that the French have done in the past. In one way, one would say that it has been a guilt you know, initiative because of what has happened in the past by the French. But at the same time, I think for me as a person and as a programmer, I don't see the bad intentions of what the government, the French government now is trying to do, because to be honest, they have, you know, they have their share of problems as well. But if they look at Africa as a way of engaging with the young people and investing in those young people, I think we should give them some credit. And I think for us as programmers, it's really a good opportunity that we are going to be able to engage at a kind of a leveled ground with the rest of the programmers from the French-speaking countries.
Okay. Talking of that, Faizo, Ugandan art, of course, have been at the forefront of coming up with new things, and we're discussing the emerging and the rising influence of the African art on the global stage and recognition that is coming along with it. What does this really mean from this relationship going forward? Do you think that we're headed to something good? Are we being given the right due, you know, recognition that we need, or the world is just giving us, you know, they say, oh, it's nice, it's good, good, but we're not good. Are we really good that we can now compete on the global stage?
I mean, we've been working. When you look at the history of the performing arts here in Uganda, it's had its, you know, Himalaya kind of process, like up and downs. And this was due to, you know, some of the challenges. Some were political, some were social, some have been economical, but also, I think, technical in a way, that most of the challenges that we've faced are because our peers are not technically capacitated to take the industry ahead. And most of the people are really, they find themselves by chance or by effort to be artists or musicians, and they don't have the technical knowledge or the technical skills that they need to be better. They learn along the way, because we've seen some success stories, and some of the people who are really making an effort to do better, to be at the level where they should be, or better than what they should be. And but when you look at the history, that the performing arts were good in the 70s and the 60s, and of course during the war between the late 70s and early 2000 or early 19s, there was nothing much going on because we are kind of, you know, in a very unstable environment. A lot of people lost their interest in the arts and they moved on to other things, or they migrated. As it's the same thing now, we could see with COVID, most of the people that have been locked down for 2 years, just within this period of 2 years, they have kind of migrated to other avenues because they could not survive this lockdown and the idea that they have no opportunity to do performances. So the same thing, I think, will be happening in the near future. If we want to present art to the French market, to the French audience, what are we going to deliver? And I think that's a question of not only we, the programmers, because we just program content. I'm also always looking out for good content. If it's not good, I don't program it. So if there is no content because people have left the industry to other things because of the situation as we've all experienced it, what are we going to do? And as going back to our conversation last week is to see that we can, now we know the opportunities are there. Can we start working towards preparing ourselves to be able, when the opportunity arises, that we are able to deliver the content that is needed to be.
Wow. So do you think that the artist, the performing art, you know, talents are working towards this? Do they understand what this relationship means? Do they understand what France is talking about? Are we taking advantage of this conversation to say, hey, wait, there's now a new market open for us here, new market open in the Francophone countries that we need to be able to take advantage of. We need to be able to start working and preparing the content to actually speak across these boundaries that we were not doing before. Do you see the sense of that?
Yes, you'll be very surprised. Not necessarily for the French, I would say. I don't think everyone now I know working on something is because of they are aware of the new relation between France and Africa. I think not so many people know. They heard about, if they did hear about, they heard about the conference, they heard about who went there, but they don't know what came out of it. And it's not really yet public, the information of the outcome is not yet in the public domains. So what is happening here, you will be actually surprised that there is a lot of effort going in creating content. There are so many people doing a lot of stuff here, amazing stuff, and you'll be surprised that in the near future, I think this environment, this COVID situation has offered an opportunity to so many creative entrepreneurs, creative artists, not all art forms, you know, but at least the theater has been very much marginalized in that case. But when you look at film, music, when you look at fashion, when you look at, you know, new media art forms like visual arts, and there's a lot of stuff that guys have been creating. So we are very happy and we are very open, you know, lucky that people have not really taken their time to not do anything, but they have really created stuff. And I'm also surprised to see that even contemporary dancers are going back to the studio to start working. You know, theater is also starting to pick up, but though very much online. So there's a lot of content. I'm not really worried about that. I think what I'm worried about is the process of knowing how to go about engaging with other francophonic people.
Okay. Sometimes, Faizo, when we create content like this, the content is created for a very small niche market that cut across the wider perspective of the market. And so if this new relationship that France is talking about is open, it means that new opportunity for the, you know, performing arts in Uganda, in Kenya, in East Africa, in West Africa, in North Africa, and, you know, in Central Africa to now start, you know, cross-culturally bringing their, you know, their art form together from the Anglophone, you know, countries to the Francophone countries. We're now not just doing, this is Francophone, everything is about the French-speaking people, and then if you don't speak French, it's up to you. And then it's about the English-speaking people, and if you don't speak, you know, English is really up about you. That's how things have been going on. But I think that ice is being broken right now. So do you think that we understand the importance of this and we are beginning to create content in line with this relationship or not? And what should be done from the programmer's point of view?
But I think if you really look at the trend of content creation here, you realize that there are those that have already transcended
Yeah.
this smaller market that we are looking at, because to be honest, Uganda is not a market for theater.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe downtown theater, but when you go to the uptown theater, there's no market for it.
Yeah.
So where do entrepreneurs or artists or creators in theater look for? They go to the Sundance. They go to the Sinophonic countries, that is the Chinese, the Asian-speaking countries.
Yes.
They go to the Lusophone, to the Francophone. They look at the Anglo. They don't look at very much, of course, the Anglophone, but they really trying to tap into. When you go to the Sinophonic countries, you know,
Yeah.
all the Asian countries, you'll be surprised to see how many Ugandans are there. And one time, I was very surprised to find a group of friends who were doing traditional dance. This Baksimba,
Yeah.
touring China for 6 months, non-stop, like 350 shows.
Yes, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was like, how do you guys, and they're there. So content has been transcending. It's just that sometimes people are in a certain environment and they are not giving others an opportunity.
Yeah.
Or to get to know about it and to tap into it. And that's also, I wouldn't call it an issue for many, but I think it would be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
If someone knows that there is a market for content here, you could invite others to tap into it. So that's maybe what is a little bit lacking. But really, there is a very good, interesting, diversification of distribution of content here. And many people really want to sell their content because they know they are not going to sell here.
Yeah.
Even if they make, even the filmmakers, they're making film, they sell them to South Africa. They're writing scripts, they want to go to Sundance because that's where they know that content is understood, content is appreciated, content is from its raw perspective.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, when they see a film, they just see a film. They don't look at the process. They don't really imagine the process.
Yeah.
So if you are part of this, understanding, trying to figure out how to deliver something to the
Yes.
market,
Yes.
and you don't know who is able or people are not able to understand the process, then you have to go to those who understand it.
Yeah.
And that's why you find most Ugandans are now, and I'll say this again, I always find it very sad to see that so many Ugandans have disappeared to Europe and America. People who would be great artists here, they have disappeared, and they are living there. Of course, some of them are continuing their careers, others are not because of the situation, different environments. But it would be really, really sad to see that many more young people are moving out of the country to go and perform in Europe and America and Asia because there's nothing they can do here. So that content, if it was produced here and developed here and distributed from here, it would give us also a boost in our own content development.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Faisal. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Faisal and I will return discussing something around about the understanding of the relationship between France and Africa. The new relationship, what does it mean? We're breaking down the performing arts. When we talk about the performing arts, market or industry, what does it really mean? Who fits where? What is it? What does it mean? Because we're talking about this thing as a blanket statement, but you're going to find some people are still lost, don't know what to do. But also, we will talk about this new Africa-France relationship. What does it mean? Is it making sense to most people who are actually in this industry? Do they understand what we're talking about? As the French people also done, the French government done much to actually come out to, further this discussion. How has it been received from the African countries' perspective? Do the African leaders understand this? Are they seeing it as a way of making, creating this industry to collaborate, or they're seeing it as a way of political gain,
But also
yes.
to add on to that, I
Yes.
think also we need to understand that when we talk about France, we're
Yes.
not talking only about France, the country.
Yes, yes.
But France also has its territories,
Yes, yes.
like Reunion, Dominica,
Yes,
whatever.
yes, yes.
All these French-speaking
Exactly.
under they call them territories.
Yes.
They're still under France.
Yes.
And they have next, I think early next month, I'll be going to a French territory,
Yes.
which is in the Indian Ocean.
Yes.
So you find that there are also other opportunities. Let's not only look at Paris.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
because it's open up for
It's
everyone,
open
and
to
of
the
course we
friends.
want to come back and have the discussion. So you want to, be part of this conversation? Stay right there. We'll be right back after this. This is the Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okela, Faisal Chiwewa, and we'll be right back after this break.
Bubu
Yeah.
that cannot stand on its own. Bubu must stand on the foundation of self-love.
Yes.
Now, by the time you start saying, buy this our own,
Yeah.
it makes sense when you already love yourself.
Yes.
But we seem to have a country, and
Yes,
so they already had that foundation. The Nigerians are proud of themselves.
Yeah.
If you ever interacted with any Nigerians,
Yeah.
you'll be amazed. Nigerians, I've met Nigerians at airports, and they can be 4 Nigerians, and you'll think they are 50 Nigerians. There's this attitude they take that wherever we are,
Yes.
we must own that
Yes,
space.
Yes, yes,
And we must own that space without apology.
yes.
And let the world notice that we are
there. We are the ones,
we are
yes.
present.
Yes.
So and you've seen the same attitude in Americans.
Yeah.
From their movies projected through so many things,
Yes.
through so much content,
Yeah.
from the branding, from clothing to movies to music. So in a way, when you get exposed to that attitude long enough,
Yeah.
you start to move your your mindset towards them.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a magnetic force of sorts.
Yeah.
So we don't have our own magnetic force, and we spend too much time on negativity around ourselves. I think before we even preach Bubu, we need to have a campaign around self-love to reduce the negativity.
Yeah.
Every time we see each other doing something amazing, oh, Eddie has just done this, but he's not doing this other thing.
Yeah.
But this other thing is lacking in his thing. Instead of focusing
Yes,
on the good stuff
yes,
he has
yes,
done,
yes, yes.
that's what those people are doing.
Yeah.
Even the bad stuff is there.
Yeah.
But how often do you see, for example, there are street people in America. The whole world knows. Right in California, in the biggest economy in among the U.S. states,
Yeah.
there are street people. They call it, there's those areas in Hollywood, I think, called Skid Row,
Yes.
where the street people are not any different from our
Yes.
our street.
They're even
vendors.
worse than ours.
Yeah.
And these hours here are better. We have food. There is very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah.
But they keep away from that. They even try as much as possible to keep cameras away. It's only the internet today because that is enabling us to see those things.
Yeah.
But these have been there for so many years. How much attention have we given to Hollywood content? But we've never seen all of that. So I think for Bubu to make sense, and for Bubu, it needs to stand on the foundation of self-love. We need a campaign around loving ourselves and reducing the negativity.
Yeah.
And then we can talk Bubu.
Welcome back from that break. This is a Creative Industry Talk. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course in the studio is Faizo Chiwewa from the Bayimba Cultural Foundation, and we are discussing the New Africa-France relationship. What does it mean? There's a conference that happened in 2021 in Montpellier, and Ugandans attended that. Many Africans, 3,000 people from African continent attended that. And of course the New Africa-France Summit, what does it really mean for Uganda's creative industry, particularly in performing arts industry? What does it mean? Are we taking advantage of that? And of course, we're hosting Faizo today, and as a resident panelist to discuss this. Faizo, welcome back to the program.
Sure.
Before we went for a break, we were breaking the, are we ready for this new relationship going forward? Is our content being prepared towards that direction? We want to tackle this a little bit more. The French may have talked about this, and at the point where we were going into a break, you talked about the territory is not Paris. It's not just Paris. It extended to where the French, the Francophone, territories, so to speak. Colonies, where people are speaking French, and it is a language. And I've been meeting people from Guadeloupe, been meeting people from different other places, the islands, and everybody's talking about this is a good place for us, a good start for us. But I want to just pick your mind from the person who attended the conference, the summit in Montpellier. The African presidents were not invited, but the young people from Africa were invited. And we know very well from the African perspective that sometimes we focus a little bit more on politics than the content that comes with. What was the sense, do you think rather, that the African president will support their own creative arts industry towards this?
They don't have a stake in it. I think I don't do politics, you know. I'm never interested in the game, but I also know that when it comes to these kind of initiatives, the government's role is very limited. It's only them doing what they are supposed to do or what they should have been doing already, like making sure that the regulations are good, copyright is implemented, and intellectual property is protected. You know, these are the government responsibilities, but they have no stake in the implementation of a partnership. If I want to do a collaboration with a French producer or a French artist, I can contact them on email, and if there is any opportunity for support from the French embassy or the French government or FD, that's our conversation. The government has no stake in it. I think here, for me, what I would like to emphasize on is to see how do we identify the territories, the areas that we can engage in as performing artists or producers or programmers. I think when we talk about the performing arts, as you say, that it's not only music, it's not only theater, but there are so many other things. And how do we know that within France or its territories, there are opportunities for all these different art forms? Which areas support what kind of art forms? Because France is diverse, and also with its territories, but there is a lot of areas that are more known for different things. For example, if you want to do like a market, you know, there is a Midem, which is like a Doa. It's one of the biggest French music market. And do people know about Midem? Do Ugandan musicians know about Midem? Or they might have heard of Doa, but do they know that there is a bigger Midem? Now that there is an opportunity for this exchange and say, how can we start preparing our musicians to be able to showcase at Midem? Because it's an opportunity, and now they have even opened the African version of Midem, which has been running online for 2 years. So there is that opportunity of us identifying where can we go, where can we take our content. There is Babalmed in Marseille. It's also a big market that also takes care of performing arts artists from Africa. Joel has performed there. He has had opportunities.
This is Joel Sabunja.
Joel Sabunja has been there. So these are some of the areas. Then when we go to theater, there are theater festivals. There are installation, video mapping, events and festivals. There are so many fashion shows. Paris or France is known for fashion. How can we work with people like Stella Tar to start really, because she was there, she knows where to talk to, how to engage. She's in the fashion industry. How can we start tapping into that connection and relation and start building our fashion designers, so start showcasing more in France? So these are the things I think we need to start cultivating and making sure that our artists, our performing industry is aware of these opportunities. But most of the time, when you talk about these opportunities of performing arts, so people mostly think about music, performing in a club or performing. No, we need to go deeper and also trying to discover new forms of art, because France has a lot of new forms of art. There are so many initiatives that come from there. How can we make sure that our artists are prepared to tap into those opportunities and also widen their scope and know that if you're talking about theater and festivals and then there are so many big festivals of theater in France, and not only in France but also in the rest of Europe, where people are being awarded each year with lots of money, with lots of good productions. How can we know, how can they get to know about this, so that they only don't look at the Anglophone countries?
Okay. Talking of that, Faisal, you bring a very good perspective to it. And I actually want some people, if you're out there and watching this video, we want to hear from you. If you're performing arts, talent, please share with us your thoughts, your understanding of this new relationship. Do you understand what it means? Do you know what is expected of you to be able to be on the same stage with a French artist or performing art person? Do you understand from a French speaking countries artists performing art from that area? Do you understand what they are doing to meet the expectations of the Anglophone speaking countries in Africa? Do you understand what is expected of you? Faisal, talking of that, it appears that many of our conversation here normally are not looking at crossing the border. We tend to be very comfortable at home here, and so some things come and pass us by. some things comes like they announce this, and you find Ugandans are still not aware of this. And a few people like Faizo, like Peter, like Paul Charles Rukundo, and a few people like Divine Nabawesi. These are the guys who are more outspoken, outgoing, and looking for these things, like the Bobby Ogwal of this world. The people who went, and people who are opening up to these things. But when they come back, do they have this conversation with these people, with the Ugandans? Do Ugandans know this, or we are comfortable doing our things locally here, and everything else?
I don't know. I mean, I speak for myself.
But you're a programmer. You interact with people who are in the writing industry, people who are in the theater industry, people who are in the drama industry. I mean, a lot of us are doing things locally, and we seem to be comfortable. And I don't see much of it going outside.
I think it's sometimes the excitement level. I mean, I had it as well. Not the non-sharing, but at the beginning, I think 15 years ago, when I just started traveling, I was always excited to show myself at the airport and take a selfie in the plane and then send it to wherever. I don't do that anymore. I think it's more like now I know I go somewhere because of a reason, and I'm always interested in going somewhere where I either add value or I'm getting something from there. These two things are very important, and that's why I'm always encouraging a two-way, or at least be contributive. Because for me, most of the time, if you want to go somewhere and you really don't have a reason why you're going there, then you're wasting your time and people's money. So it's important that maybe not, but sometimes it's that why people don't talk about things, because they are overwhelmed by the environment that they get themselves into, and they are not aware of how to deal with it. It's something that we all have to learn, because even me, it took me some time to know, if I go to Womex, what am I expected of? Why am I there? And what am I going to get back? And what is worth my investment? And when we talk about investment, we're not talking about only the money we put in the tickets, but we're also talking about the time. It's an investment. That opportunity cost is very important for the work that we are doing. So if people are not yet, they don't get used to this getting on the plane and off, and then once you get used to that, then you can start focusing on what you're meant to do. But if you fly once a year, it's going to be difficult to get over it. But if you're flying every 2 weeks, then you'll be like, come on, why am I coming there? So this is this is the difference, and it's very honest. It's very honest that if people are not used to this, being with different people, getting to know different spaces and getting exposed to different areas, then it's difficult for them to go somewhere where they have a reason. And I'm lucky, we are lucky these days that COVID has helped us, because so many times people used to travel to go to a workshop. I'm going to blah, blah, blah for a workshop on human rights. I'm going to go to that. And then they reach there, they go shopping, you ask them, what did you learn? Nothing. And it's because now that they realize, okay, we can do so much online, and we are also learning to also program things online. So it's a whole different conversation. Maybe now we can start bringing things back. But I think for me, what is important is that wherever you want to go, wherever you're going, it's important to know, what are you going to give? What are you contributing to that place, to that environment, to that space, to that meeting that you're going to, and what are you going to bring back? And that will give us some kind of value in terms of making people understand that when you come back home and there's something that you've learned, you can share it with others.
Wow. Well, I mean, we're talking about the new Africa-France relationship, the summit. I want Tim to just put it up there so that I can take you through this a little bit more, and that's what Faizo is talking about. The new Africa-France relationship 2021 means a lot. What does it necessarily mean to, for Uganda's creative industry in the performing arts, and we're talking to Faizo Chiwewa from the Bayimba Foundations, fresh from that Montpellier, summit in France, and where a lot of things were discussed on that stage. They're now saying we are open for you to come and showcase your art here. We want to do this now on an equal time and equal measures. It means that a Ugandan can go to France and showcase. Africans now operate with the francophone countries or territories at an equal opportunity measure. As to whether it's going to be a reality, it's really time will tell. But are we preparing to go there? And you know, something that Faisal has been talking about here, very important. If you are used to boarding a plane once or twice, you know, your experience is not as good as an artist or a performing artist from the Francophone countries who are always boarding the plane. They don't go to take selfies. They go to do things at a different level. Faisal, that said, I want to come back to you for a moment. How do we get Ugandans, particularly from where we sit, you know, to start looking at this from beyond the selfies, beyond appearing in Paris and running around? I mean, I get the sense that of the 3,000 people who went to France, very few of them actually engaged themselves to discuss serious business. Most of them were running, for the first time, they were stuck and running to enter. Just the trend wowed so many of them and took away the attention from the business and the opportunity that could have presented itself to them. And many of them were spending a lot more time for tourism purposes, as opposed to trying to meet the new, you know, minister here or meet the new talent manager there from West Africa to crack the business so that they can board the plane a little bit more, you know, because this was paid for by the French government. It might not come back again for the next time. But how do we help our people here to know that when you get opportunity to go there, don't just go for selfies? No, it's a one chance given to you. Use it.
But I think, you know, to be honest, we all they call it amalo.
Yes.
Now, even me myself, I mean, I travel a lot, but sometimes if I go to a city like Paris, I'm like, oh, let me go to the Louvre, let me go to see the, you know, the park, or let me go to see the Eiffel Tower. It's something we do, but you do it when you've at least done something that is meaningful, or you're going to do something that is meaningful for the purpose that you're there. You're not invited for tourism. You're invited for a certain reason, and not everyone that is invited is going to make meaning to the contribution or to contribute to the conversation that is going on. Maybe you're invited as a spectator and that's your role, but how do you know how to navigate that? It's a process, to be honest, and it really needs someone to be aware of how to network, how to speak to people, how to pitch your works, how to engage with, you know, with people, and also how to do your background research. You know, who is there? You know, if you're going in a conference hall where there are 3,000 people, where do you start from if you don't know who is there? You get what I mean? So you have to know, like, okay, if there so and so is there, Faisal is there, Eddie is there, what does Eddie do? Maybe we have some similar interests. I met so many young people from Africa who are doing stuff. There was a guy who was working in Burkina Faso and he's doing recycling shoes. I'm like, what do you mean you recycle shoes? And like, you know, when your shoe is broken, you give it to me, I repair it, I design it differently, and I sell it back to you. I'm like, that's really cool. You know, and he was getting gigs. He was getting a lot of gigs. And there were like all these young fashion designers, all these young creative, you know, entrepreneurs doing software, you know, games and all that stuff. And I'm like, there is a lot of workforce. There is a lot of human capital that is coming up in this on this continent. But I think for me, what is really important, whenever I travel, and it's not always, but most of the time when I travel, I like to admire. And when I look at something and I like it, I try to imagine it if I can do it. In my area of business, not in road construction or architecture, whatever, but when I see a good performance, when I see a good art form, when I imagine it being here. That's why over the 10 years, we've managed to create new forms of art here that people are thinking like, oh, that's impossible, like video mapping, street theater, you know, like sound art, you know, these kind of things that people have never, you go to a space and you find an artist has, you know, created something that is unimaginable and be like, how do they come up with this? How can I get this guy to teach some of my colleagues in Uganda? And that's why every time we have a new form of art that we are introducing, we invite like 10 to 15 people. But at the back of my mind, I know one or two will pick it up. Not everyone will like it or understand it. So I think if we I don't know how they call it, like okwegomba. I don't know how it's in English. I like to
go out there, look at things, imagine
and I admire them, and I'm like, I admire them and
like, see if you can come and do them here.
Yeah, it's the whole force that keeps me moving, because I know most of the things I like are not possible now. But I work towards that. And that's why I'm investing in my own space, you know, whereby we will soon be having our own Bayimba Center, where we have invested brick by brick, you know, dollar by dollar, shilling by shilling, on our own. Because I know that when you go to all these spaces in Paris and you find all these big museums, big theaters, them, you know, in New York and you know, Venice, wherever you go, do we ask ourselves, who built these buildings? You know, do we know how these buildings came to exist? Some of them were not even government buildings. They were by individuals from their own effort. And maybe later on, 50, 100 years later on, the government finds interest in them and starts taking care of them and opening them up to the public. So what are we contributing to the future of our spaces? We cannot start only thinking around tomorrow, today, and I find that a very big problem.
Yeah.
We need to start thinking further. We need to start thinking what is going to happen 100 years from now. What are we going to show? Are we just going to show all these, you know, small untaught buildings around the city? There's nothing creative about it. But if we had the idea of admiring what other people have, and for me it's very, very important, and I tell my colleagues, even my donors, like, don't tell me about space that we don't need space. We do need space from ground zero, you know, and everywhere. But we, the people in the industry, have to learn to admire those spaces and create our own spaces that will be representing our country, our spaces, our art forms in the future. Yeah. So the issue of admiring is very, very important. When you have a chance to go to other places, look around and see. And just imagine yourself being part of this new initiation in your own country. Yeah. How would that be?
Well, we're going to take a break. Faisal is spitting fire right now that when you fly out, you must be able to imagine things on a bigger stage and a bigger scale. And of course, we're talking about the new Africa-France relationship, the summit that happened in 2021. What does it really mean to the creative industry in Uganda, particularly this week, today? We're talking about the performing arts industry. Are we taking advantage of it? Do we know much about it? Are we beginning to prepare our work towards that? We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Creative Industry Talk will tackle the final part of the show. We'll be discussing how do we take the advantage of this relationship to showcase our art, and Faisal will be sharing a few more as we close the show. So that I'll be right back after the break.
France is happy, joyful, and proud to be France. That's the first thing we can learn from France.
Yeah.
France knows all about France. France celebrates France. France celebrates its history, its cuisine, its language, its music, its culture. So when we want to have a conversation with France, it helps if we also come from a point of celebrating our history, our culture, our heritage, our food, then we can have it. Because the conversation involves exchange.
Yes.
So we have to have something to bring forward. And if we don't yet understand ourselves fully, if we don't yet celebrate ourselves fully, it's difficult to begin to share what
It is a Creative Industry Talk. Welcome back to the program. My name is Eddie Okila, and we're discussing the new Africa-France relationship. What does it really mean? This new relationship with Africa, what does it really mean to the creative industry? Particularly the performing arts is what we're discussing today. Why have we focused series on this Creative Industry Talk, talking about the meaning of this new relationship to the creative arts industry in Uganda and across Africa? It's because creativity is at the core of everything we do. Every time we wake up in the morning, we're talking about creative ways of how do we sell this product? How do we get product A to the market? How do we get product B to the market? How do we attract other people to come and sell our culture to them so that we can make money? You know, it's all about creativity. No one wakes up in the morning and do not know what to do creatively to attract money to them. Value is attracted to where there is value. And of course, Faisal is with me on the program today discussing that. And Faisal, welcome back to the program. Yeah. We are talking about, you know, how do we help Africans to, you know, start beginning to take advantage of this, think beyond this. You have been going across the world, you know, as a festival programmer. You, first of all, we want to break down, you know, the different forms of arts under the performing arts, sector. And then you have been going around the world, you know, doing and performing and, you know, creating platform for people to perform as a programmer. What are the processes that you go through when you're picking and selecting that person to go there? And what kind of form of art do you take there? Yeah. I mean, we could be talking like this and many people actually don't know that they need to prepare themselves towards putting themselves out so that they can now begin to interact with some of this new relationship that we're talking about. Yeah, I think
when you to do the kind of work that like I do, you need to educate yourself. We are unfortunate that we don't have a school of arts management here in this country, and I don't think anywhere in East Africa. Yeah. So it's very difficult for someone to understand the scope of the work that we do. But if you want to learn, if anyone who is a programmer out there and who wants to really engage in these theories of learning to do things differently, you have to study. Like, I think the bottom line, the basis of this business is really to study culture economics. When you study culture economics, you will understand the process of understanding culture. It's a very public, good kind of approach. Yeah. You put yourself there as a sacrifice. The way our president said, sacrificed his hand and kept this to himself. Yes. You know, so you also have it is serious. If you have to understand that when you learn culture economics, you understand the basics of arts management, the basics of programming. So when you do that, then you understand that when you put yourself into this job, you are sacrificing yourself for the better good of the rest of the industry. Yeah. And that means that you're going to put your interests aside, and that's what many people don't understand, and put the interests of the industry to be your first priorities. Yeah. When people ask me, why are you always working? Because I decided to make 99% of my time to work. And I decided not to be an artist because I realized that if I am an artist and I want to be an arts manager, I'll not be able to do the same. I put my 99% of the time in my work, and then the rest 1% I share it with the people next to me. So it's a difficult situation, and this is where it starts from. So you understand that the business is a public good. You have to. When you do that, then you can start looking at things. What do you do if you're a public servant? You work for the people. The people are your bosses, and if you are in a position like ours where you're supposed to kind of define the future of your own effort, then you'll start to understand that going out there, if you have the opportunity of going out there to see people and admiring their work and bring it down to your people, to share it with, to collaborate, to network, to connect with the rest of the world, it becomes a normal thing to do. Yeah. Because you already understand why you are doing it. Yeah. So for me, I think when it comes to these all relations, when it comes to this understanding of the performing arts, as wide as there are so many, But the thing is that, do we even understand our own subsectors of the performing arts? So if you're doing theater, how best do you understand theater? If you do not understand theater that much, but you're doing it, are you helping yourself to study? What kind of learning are you doing? So it's really about people also making an effort to educate themselves, making an effort to find out what is happening within their own territory, within their own area, and also trying to invest in themselves. People don't like to invest in themselves. They can invest, they think finding transport and lunch to go to a rehearsal is the only way to invest in yourself. But educating yourself and also trying to figure out, finding opportunities is a very good way of educating yourself.
Okay.
And I always ask people, like, if you spend at least, 2 hours on Facebook and Twitter, why don't you invest that time in learning about your industry, about where you are and how you can better yourself? So it's really about learning. The performing arts are wide, there are so many, but people really can only benefit from them if they understand better and they can open their minds to make sure that they're only not looking at what they are, where they are, but they're also checking out to figure out what is happening around the world. And if you understand what is happening around the world, it helps you to kind of speed up your own process of developing yourself and doing better.
Okay. Faisal, would you share with us one thing that is very key as we wind up the show? Break down the performing arts. What are the different subsectors under the performing arts that we need to know? Because when you're talking about performing arts, some people may not even know that they're in the performing arts. Maybe they're in the wrong sector of it. Maybe they need to move to the next sector of it. Maybe they don't know. Maybe I'm there attracted because this is what is paying my bill right now. But perhaps my quality, my gifting is really into writing. And if I write, I make other people really look good. Therefore, I need to spend time writing and actually focused on the writing, and then I use this new Africa-French relationship that they're talking about, that Africa now is more open, to begin to seek opportunity to write for other people, cross-border writing, so that my script can go out, then I can begin to travel across the world, as opposed to being a writer and at the same time I want to be a performer, and at the same time so can you break that for us?
No, I think, of course, you can be a writer and a performer, but okay, breaking it down, like performing arts, we have music, we have dance, and dance is also divided. There's urban dance, there's traditional dance, there's folk dance, there is contemporary dance, and then we have theater, which we have traditional theater, like community theater. Then we have the high-end theater, and then also we have like dance theater, which is more like you find the ballet contemporary performances of like the Nutcracker and all these Mary Poppins and stuff like that. Then we have fashion is a performing art. Even though someone thinking I sit down, I'm not performing, but you create a piece and then you put it on stage for people to catwalk on it. That's a performance. Writing, creative writing, because when you're writing, you don't write for yourself only, but you're writing for people to read and to act or to create. We have poetry. We have there's a lot. We have video mapping. It's a performance, and sometimes you might think because it's visual and video, you think it's a visual art. No, but it's a performance because video mapping has become more interactive now, and it has become kind of like an engagement between a space and the people. So, and I really like to explore this, and this is something I'm really cultivating with my team. I want to start a festival for video mapping, like light up this whole city and with different concepts and designs and stories, but it's a very expensive art form, to be honest. And then what else is there? Street theater. There is there's a difference between theater in a theater and street theater. When I introduced street theater here, I think 12 years ago, people thought that but it's a very mature way of acting, because you don't have a script, you don't have anything, you're kind of reacting to. You can have a thought or a theme in your head, but then you're kind of reacting to a space, to the situation. So you are spontaneously engaging with people and stuff like that. So the performing arts are wide, and they're really a lot.
Now, just give us a few. You've talked about quite a varied number of the performing arts subsectors under that. We want to just break it down. Do we have some of these form of arts in Uganda that are known? Because we might find that we're skewed to a very few of them, and we don't know really many of them that are quite very important that could take advantage of. Now that we're talking about, Africa being open to the Francophone, and the Francophone countries being open to the Africa.
I think the challenge with some of the art forms, they're quite expensive and exhausting. When you talk about like video mapping, I mean, if you're a video mapping artist in Uganda, where will you get a job? He's gonna give you a gig, you know. So you are in it for being.
That's why I was saying the New Africa France is open.
So
for this
I think,
year.
and also if you're a video artist here, you really. I mean, it will be really hard for you to get a gig in France or Europe because they are at a whole different level when it comes to mind, when it comes to skills, when it comes to software, because all these things work with software. Every time there's a new software, there's a new, it's like being on these apps that people use all the time. Everything, all the time there's something new. And how do you keep up with that? So some art forms would be really difficult for some of the Ugandan artists. And it doesn't mean that it's easy for the European or the Americans. It's also difficult for them, but what happens with them is that, first of all, they have the knowledge, they have schools where they go to learn this, and it's recognized. It means that when they come out of those schools, they are respected because they learn that form of art. And then when they go out in the market and they don't have gigs, there is a system that helps them to survive. They are given some, capital or money to survive on, even if they don't have a gig. When they get a gig, they can declare that they got a gig, and then they don't have to claim money from the state. So
gig being business in
So if there is that, if there was a system like that, and imagine Eddie or young people who are, and every year there's also these opportunities, like every year there's a lights festival, there is a video mapping festival, there's a, all these street theater festivals. So it means that someone is working, even though they know they are not going to get paid all the time, but they know at the end of the year there is something they look up to. And that gives them the motivation to create that kind of content. But if there is no opportunity, there is no platform for them to show their work, then it becomes difficult for them to be motivated.
That's why That's why now we're saying the New Africa relationship is opening out room for us to now go and say, go land, open up.
Of course, it opens up, but also we have to understand that we need to start working harder to level the ground, to start competing with the content, because also the French artists they also need gigs. So you're not going to come from here and start stepping on their toes because I'm coming from Uganda and this is where I saw the opportunity. They'll kick you out. So what is important is to work on merit, to work on your betterment or your development of your skill. So how do we develop our skills? How do we also start offering opportunity? We are not only looking at taking our artists to France, but we're also looking at bringing the artists to Uganda, the French artists. So for me, what is actually more useful, and this is what I've been doing over these years, is that when I see an art form or an artist and he's good, I bring them to my festival. For the reason, because I know taking one artist from here to France would cost me much more money, and maybe that person will just go and take selfies. But if I bring the other artists here, no, serious. If I bring the other artists here, then there is an opportunity for that artist to be seen by a wider number of other artists. And maybe from those, they will start looking, how did he do that? Look at the difference with Maurice Kiria. The Maurice Kiria of 10 years and the Maurice Kiria now is at a whole different league.
Talking of
Look
it, he was performing in Netherlands recently, and the place was packed.
No, look at
they seem to
GNL.
Understand his music.
GNL has been good since he started his music, and now he's at a whole different level. Exposure, interacting, collaborating, looking at others and how they're doing things, and being in a space that supports the industry that he is in. So we have to look at what do we do as a people in our positions to admire what others have done for their industries, and then that will give us the opportunity to start nurturing our own industries. But if we only look at problems and money here, pressuring people for support when you know they can't give it to you, but you just need to also work on yourself, be able to deliver and create the work that can take you to another level. And that comes with admiring others.
So it's basically what you're saying, Faisal, in summary, is that yes, the New Africa-France relationship is there, but it's not going to be a silver plate platter. I mean, it is still possible that people who are coming from France can take advantage of you because you don't know it and still tell your story their way, and there's no problem with it because it's open now for everyone to do. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Wow, Faisal, thank you very much for coming to the program today. We really have to bring this to a close, but we want to say thank you, and we want to encourage all those people out there to be part of this conversation going forward, and of course take this advantage of some of the things Faisal is talking about and begin to widen your scope, your horizon, your thinking capacity, your creative capacity, and be close to people like Faisal, be close to people who went to France. Ask them, what did you learn from France? How can they take advantage of it? There are many. Uganda, I think, had over 20 people that went, and I think these 20 people are back. If they can share as much information, that would be very great. And Faisal, one last thing as you go. You've talked about GNL, and I think that there is a new Nsimbi band that was created after 5 years of being in America. He's back in East Africa, and I think it launched a new product this year. Are we going to see this new product, make its way programmed on Bahimba?
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to have a conversation with Jenner.
Yes,
I know he asked me some months ago for a meeting, but I haven't really had. I've been also busy.
Yes.
But I think it's I admire the work. I admire the level of creativity and the maturity in it, and I think it's one way of returning that kind of talent to our country to inspire other young people. And I think he has a mission to also engage more young artists to learn from him, to be helped by his work that he's doing, so that they can also move another step forward. So that's really the spirit of Ubuntu, the spirit of nurturing others, because he's been nurtured. He's gone through a process whereby other people have helped him, and now he's coming back to help others. I think it's a very genuine thing, and I'm looking forward to working with him, inshallah.
Wow. And thank you very much. You've had it from there. So I asked that question because if somebody's doing something important, I think that it's important for us to actually be able to support them, to make sure that, we give them opportunity to be part of that. And I think GNL right now has that form of art coming. There's Kinobe who has a new thing and is thinking of coming back home and showcasing it here. Are we going to see some of this new art coming back to
it's fascinating. It's fascinating because what has been happening is that most of the people, they had nowhere to go.
Yes.
Like Kinobe, if he comes here, where is he going to perform?
Yes.
Except in maybe at Ndere Center, which is, might be not ideal for his sound.
Yes.
The National Theatre is too small for him.
Yes.
So we need to start thinking for our artists and we need to start thinking like, okay, even if JNL wants to put up a concert, where? Serena, that's not a concert place. Okay, we use it because it's what we have. You get what I mean? So we need to start thinking for our artists, like if we have this talent and we need them, we appreciate them, how do we start planning and preparing for them? And that's not a responsibility of only us in the performing arts industry or the programmers, but it's a responsibility of everyone in the planning, the government, in all this stuff. We need to start looking at all these people, even for example, all these young kids they are sending out to work in the Middle East. What do we plan for them? Okay, let's go, they work for 2 years and whatever they collect, when they come back, what do they find? What are we planning for them? I think it's important that we know, okay, when you send someone to acquire a skill, you have to make sure that when they come back with that skill, they find where they can practice that skill. You get what I mean? So if we have all these great musicians, the Kinobes, the Ntale Guma Mwine, we have the JNL now, we have Oscar, we have so many in contemporary dance, in film, in theater, they are all out there making headlines. The Daniel Kaluyas, they are making headlines. When they come home, what do they find?
So it's basically an opportunity for everyone who is investing now to say, let's invest in a bigger platform.
I was actually thinking, recently, I was driving around and I saw all these Sudil buildings putting up, and I'm like, because he's an investor and he has an opportunity and he has so many stuff that he's working on in his head. But does the Capital City Authority sit with this guy and tell him like, okay, you're an investor, you're a real estate investor, but this is our plan as a city. As you're thinking of building a hotel here, a mall here, can you also work with us you know, to create some of the things that we want as a city. So that because it's your space, it's your investment, but these are some of the ideas we need for this city. You get what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you think around, instead of building 10, 15 hotels, can also build a theater here? Can you also put a black box here? Can you put a studio here? Can you add it in your plan?
Yeah.
That would be really smart, you know, because he's already investing.
Yeah.
He's putting in, like I see him, he's adding another wing at Kabira. What if, you know, that space, I would imagine putting a theater there. Instead of those box rooms, you know, putting a theater there. One of the halls and making it perform. Because
you're now speaking already like a performing artist, a programmer, yes.
Like you have a hotel here, and then people can stay there, and then you have a performing space here. You know, it's
where
in the
people
middle.
can actually
exactly.
It creates that ambience.
And then you can see that, you know, you put one in that area, Bokoto, serves in Tinda, serves whatever, and then if he's investing at Simba Manyo, now he owns it, I hear, then you can also you know, put something like that supports that community there. You know, you plan with the city. I wonder whether they have this conversation, because I don't see it happening.
Perhaps we need to bring this conversation there. I mean, well, the Creative Industry Talk is meant to bring the policymakers together. And we've been trying to get the policymakers to come to basically have this conversation with the creative minds, the policy people who are in the policy business, to say, hey, come together and let's have a conversation. Maybe we need to engage some of these people. Perhaps some of these things are not out and they are not aware. And it's something that we need to think through. But, well, thank you very much, Faisal.
Welcome.
First of all, for coming to the program today. We've got to spread love. No. The spread love is spread from here, and then you spread the love outside to the rest of the people. And we want to say thank you for coming, and looking forward to having you again back on the show, and of course visiting Lunkulu. If you haven't visited Lunkulu Island, please do. And Faisal has an amazing place there in the island just between Buikwe and Mukono. Please visit Lunkulu Island and see the new theater and some of the fantastic stuff coming into that forest in the island, and of course you will be amazed. That is the moment that brings us to the, you know, the close of the Creative Industry Talk today. Until next time, we stay blessed, stay focused, stay creating, stay creative, and take advantage of the opportunities available to you, and of course stay away from the disease that might destroy you before you achieve your dreams. Eddie Okello, Faisal Chiwewa, signing out.
This one is called manual brewing. This is Gravity manual brewing.
Yeah.
It's part of specialty. So we've been talking about specialty. Specialty came and introduced to us manual brewing, two methods of brewing. That's the main difference between specialty and commercial.
Yeah.
In specialty cafes, you'll find people, baristas doing manual brewing.
Okay.
In commercial, they'll be doing only machine, espresso machine.
Okay.
That's another method. And this is another method. So we do this one manually. What's the main point of manual brewing? And what is our expectations?
Yeah.
Why do we make manual brewing? What's the difference between this and the normal coffee?
Yeah.
First of all, it's not about making strong coffee, making whatever. No, we can make manual brewed coffee, a very nice one.
Yeah.
What we are looking for is optimum balance.
Okay.
Shouldn't be bitter, shouldn't be too acidic, should be balanced.
Okay.
So someone should drink coffee and enjoy it, only that.
Yeah. Let's pull up the camera.
The Bite of Benin in Kampala, what is it about? What are you serving? Why the Bite of Benin? Tell us more about this restaurant.
Okay. First of all, the name Bite of Benin, we were deliberate about the name, right? It's a play on the word to bite, but there's actually a body of water called the Bight of Benin, which is situated within the Greater Gulf of Guinea on the coast of West Africa. So it's either called the
That's
Bight.
the only time I learned the only thing
You
I
see?
respect from my history. These other things I don't respect. Because now you're talking about, yes, yeah.
So it's either the Bight or the Bay of Benin, but we named it Bight of Benin, and it's always a great conversation starter, right? So our intention is to offer food across the 16 West African countries, right? We have foods that are common to us. We have the jollof rice, we'll talk about that. We have the different sauces. So what you will find is maybe slight differences in the technique or some of the ingredients used.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what the Bight of Benin is all about.
Yes.
Why did you decide to put this restaurant in Kampala, not anywhere else?
First, we're based here in Uganda, but more importantly, we wanted to set up a place where you would come in and explore West African food. So the Bight of Benin is not just about food. Our plan actually is to have it as a center where you will have the arts, so music, spoken word, poetry, artists, painters, sort of like a gallery also, showcasing what we have in West Africa. That is the overall plan for the Bight of Benin. So it's not just about food, but actually bringing West Africa to Uganda, to East Africa. Yeah.
Okay.
Coffee industry is very wide, it's very big, it's very full of opportunities. Don't sit there and say, I have nothing to do. You can join the industry. You can get whatever you want. If you give it time, invest in it. By giving it time, don't look for money, don't look for big salary at first. First learn. After learning, you'll get how much amount you need. Yeah. In coffee industry, there's no like, barista should get this amount of money. No, it depends on your knowledge. Yeah. What you know is what you get. You cannot be like having junior experience and asking for experienced one. No. You can join now. Good thing, everything is simple. Yeah. It's easy. Don't sit there and say, oh no, I'm scared to join this. No, it's very simple. You can make. Yeah, it's very simple. It's not so difficult. buli mwasobola okukiyiga. Simple, very simple, very enjoyable. You can do everything when you're enjoying. You can do your coffee, you can serve your customers. Coffee create friendship.
Yeah.
Coffee gives you job. Even if you are not working in a cafe, maybe you can go in different field, but still in coffee industry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's put up the camera.
My first advice to my students, the people I train, the people I talk to, is that at every stage of coffee, from the farm to the cup, you can gain something. So I first get to know, like, you as you, what's your passion? Is it going to the garden? Is it going to the factory? Or is it like being a supplier? First of all, we are working for people. We're working for people, but our dreams are being self-employed. Yes. So in coffee, if I'm mentoring you, if like I want you to get something good, improve on your life, me, I can pass through roasting. I can teach you how, like I can teach you or train you the part of coffee roasting. So within that process, you like will be making some money somewhere. And where does that money comes from? You buy your coffee, you roast, you pack it, and you sell. Of course, there are many cafes that are opening. We have our organizations here in Uganda, like they are boosting up the consumption. We have business people that are starting up cafes, but there is that gap. There's that gap of supply. There's that gap of supply. Big companies are exporting, but we can also be the big company at our youth stage. We roast our coffee, we pack it, and we sell it. Let me take another example. You can be a good person in computer graphic designing. So when I introduce that idea, you can plan the way of branding that coffee. How we can market that coffee. Yes. So we can like at the end of the process, me and you will be having something to put in the pocket, or to save on the account.
It's another good day to have coffee. Welcome to House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel Ateng. This is the Coffee Break Show. Remember, you can catch us live. The show is live right now on our YouTube channel at House of Talent Uganda live stream. Or you can head down to our Twitter handle, that is at HTV1. Or if you're on Facebook, you can also catch us at House of Talent Uganda. That is on Facebook. Make sure to share the show. Far and wide, send us your comments. If you have questions, if you have any remarks, let us know. On today's show, the Messiah is back. And I'm not talking about the second coming of Jesus. I'm talking about the coming back of the Coffee Messiah, the original guy on the show. He's back with us here today. And for those who are wondering who the Messiah is, none other than Mr. Amon Rukisa.
Hey man.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, man.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, but we've been in touch.
Yeah, we've been in touch.
Yeah.
I think you are out, getting converts and, getting more disciples to come to your side.
It's a good thing that we've gotten many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can be as seen on the show here. We have
very many faces that have come up,
Yeah.
very many new people that are in coffee. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Good thing that at least now the visibility of coffee and people are getting to know coffee, you know. So it's a good thing that we've seen very many new faces come through.
Yeah.
And it's very, very massive when you look out there. People are joining the coffee industry.
Yeah.
Like someone tells you, okay, I watched this show, I heard about this, I read about this in
Yeah.
coffee, and I decided to come and study coffee.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So we're doing a good job.
Yeah, we're doing a good job. Well done, the coffee break.
Well, apart from that, what have you been up to? I've seen on your social media, you're still doing your GNN. For those of you who don't know, Amon has his page, Gather Now Network on YouTube. You should head over there. Some very good content. You should actually follow him and, you know, let another person know, support Amon. You know, he has good stuff. Just go ahead and check it out. I also saw some of your posts, some coffee stuff. I think you're running some trainings and all this. You know, what have you been up to basically?
Well, it's been a roller coaster because, you know, as Uganda went on, like, yes, we haven't fully opened up, but people have started like moving.
Yeah.
So back to our businesses, like the coffee shops,
Yeah.
different businesses of coffee, people are starting to crowd it.
Yeah.
The queue is so much. So we tend to get together as different parties in the coffee industry,
Yeah.
so that we can bring back the egg game in the coffee industry, because you know how you sit down and relax because, okay, you've not been busy.
Yeah.
People, you've been receiving like 10 a day,
Yeah.
20 a day, you know. But now people have started coming back, which means you have to be prepared
Yeah.
for Jan come 2022 when the guy said it's going to open up. So
Hopefully.
we've been in preparations. Yeah, we've been in preparations to open up. So doing trainings, doing coffee awarenesses, you know, like putting everything in touch, like it's supposed to be here, let it be here.
Yeah.
Give it a direction, the right direction where it's supposed to be, we give it
Yeah.
that direction. So that's what we've been up to. But besides that, normal stuff, chilling, work, you
Yeah.
know, something like that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's good that you guys have really been running all these programs, and that is what we want to focus, you know, our show on today. You know, but before we get there,
Yeah.
you know, we're still getting to know. You've been doing awareness. The economy is getting back to the place where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to open up January, hopefully. You know, but with this new variant coming in, you also really can't be sure, you know, if the economy will really open. So, with the people coming back, in the event that we don't open in January, okay, and maybe we go to another lockdown, okay, and there are some strategies that you guys have come up with to make sure that, you know, you don't go back into a pitfall like it was before?
Man, it's going to be hard not to open up. It's really, really going to be. You know, a country sitting or being locked for 2 years,
Yeah.
what it means to the economy. So that's why even the president of Uganda, when he was addressing a couple of weeks ago, he said, come what may, we're opening up in Jan. But in an event where something goes wrong and we don't open up, you know, like before, how companies have coped up. You know,
Yes.
like through the use of food companies, through the use of the internet, you know,
Yeah.
to distribute their products, besides the beverages, but the products. Coffee has different products, as you know. But companies have adopted to that. You know, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine and I told him, do you know there are various guys who are not going to let spaces come next year?
Yeah.
They won't rent. Because they will realize, okay, I've been paying over 10 million a month for this
rent.
space, but I've been making over maybe 15 million or 20 million.
Yeah.
And now you're telling me to rent a space whereby in a lockdown, at least I've achieved my 11 million. Okay, so they will weigh the two options and they're
Yeah.
like, okay, why not? So it's going to be hard to see people grumble for spaces, grumble for what. So they will adopt to this internet because they have really mastered how it's being done.
Yeah.
Actually, when you asked me at the beginning what we've been up to, like, we've been trying to see what new options can we have to market our different products of coffee. How can we use the internet very well? Because you can never understand the internet like fully. Even those who are like leads on the internet, they still go back and research, you know.
Yeah.
So we've also been trying to do different researches, you know, getting curious about how best can we do this, how best can we market our coffee products, how best can we reach different audiences in the coffee industry. That's why, okay, a company I work with is Enduro Coffee. That's why you're seeing, besides the lockdown, Enduro Coffee is opening up various branches. You find yourself in Kapchora, there is a branch. In Buama, there is a branch. Around town, there are like over 3 branches that have opened up, and more are coming. So that's the kind of work that we've been like trying to do. So if we don't open up, it will be easy for us, because at least now we are next to our customers. You know, if you're around, maybe let me say Naria, if I have a branch around maybe Chiwatle, I can easily walk over there. Okay, my bike, you know. So instead of like coming from Cementi, going to Naria, that distance, even the coffee will get cold, or whatever product I'm transferring will get cold or bad, because coffee is a perishable good, you know that. So it's easy for us like to connect. The distance is not long. That's one way. But also, like I said, the use of the internet. The use of the internet. So we need to adopt to that, because people have realized that the internet can do more good than harm.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was seeing in town, and just even here, just outside the studio, the juicer guys have decided to make, you know, mobile shops for coffee. Okay, so does Enduro have any plans of the same, or you guys are just sticking to, you know, permanent structures?
Yes. Okay, now the spokesperson of Enduro right here. Yes, Enduro, you know, Enduro's vision is ensure vulnerability globally through coffee and other related products by partnering with others. So Enduro Coffee, it doesn't have those stores or those juicers or those small bikes, no. But for it, what it did was, okay, how can we get through the community deep down by not going there as a bicycle or with a car or with a van, but we need to be in the community with them, physically with them, live with them, give them jobs, you know. So besides the Enduro Coffee Limited company, what they decided to do was, okay, I think I used the wrong word over there. What we decided to do, what we decided to do was, let's go to the community, and we started up the project called the Enduro Community Project. So this Enduro Community Project is all about like going down to the people, giving them jobs, but they have stalls in these communities. You'll find a stall in Kamocha, you find a stall in downtown Chisenyi, you'll find a stall in like those small communities. This is because not everyone can afford a cup of coffee at 10K or 12K. But this cup of coffee by Enduro Coffee Community Project, you find a cup of coffee at 1,500, but a good cup of coffee, you know, like the one they will take at 10K. So this is one of reaching out compared to, okay, I'm not trying to diminish this whole van projects. They are good because they improve or they increase coffee consumption in Uganda. But for us, we decided to do it that way because coffee is people. Instead of coming and go away, okay, I'm going to come and park here today, and you find me here with my van with an espresso machine doing coffee, and then tomorrow you find me in Chireka. No, first we're like, let's stay here, we live in people, given the fact that coffee is people.
Interesting. It's actually good to see that we're using coffee to, you know, reach some people in the community. Do you have any examples or any stories of, you know, certain lives that have been changed? I know that you're always up and down in Kapchora here and there. So I know that you must have met some people or heard of some stories where people's lives were changed because of the work you guys are doing. If you could just share that with us.
You know, I do trainings of different baristas that we get into. I don't do like outside trainings, but I do trainings of in-house. So when I'm called certain times to go and train or orient these people, the smile I see on their faces, the reactions I see when I'm interacting with them is so touching. Because they realize that, okay, we've been knowing coffee, but we didn't know that coffee is as good as this when we've added value on it. You know, there is a lady called Mariam. She's doing she's in these Enduro community projects. Mariam, she lives in she left Mubende here to Kampala, but she didn't have a job. Okay, she got, you know how you can leave the village and you come to town, like you stay with your auntie or uncle, and you're expecting your uncle or aunt to get you a job, and things don't work out.
Kampala refuses.
Kampala refuses, you know. So Mariam stays there, not until she heard about this project.
Yeah.
And because there's a team that runs it. So she registers for this project. And Enduro Community calls her. So when she reaches, they tell her what she's going to do and everything. They give her the orientation. Of course, now that's me giving her the orientation.
Yeah.
She's like, Amon, did you know that we grow coffee at home, but I didn't know all these things? So you see how coffee is changing the life of this person.
Yeah.
She's getting to realize, okay, I would have utilized this opportunity way back, but I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
You know? So the ignorance in around people at least is going to shift a little bit so that they can get awareness about coffee.
Yeah.
And that's how it's going to change the lives of people. Because now, just imagine someone is having a stall of coffee, a courtesy of Enduro Community, and now is making maybe 10 cups of coffee, literally, like averagely. Okay, the boda guy, maybe a certain Musa over there has come. Oh, Mariam, because it's now to be their usual, you know?
Yeah.
So you're giving this person a culture of taking coffee.
Yeah.
You're changing his life. So that's the impact of coffee through this lady called Mariam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting story. You know, would love to see more of those stories actually happening. And I know they are there, just that, you know, sometimes we're really not exposed to them. But I believe that coffee is actually changing lives.
Yeah, people are being changed by coffee. Especially the fact that now Uganda, what it's doing is a very, very good thing. Like, at least has made sure that coffee products are enriched within the people.
Yeah.
How much they don't know them so much, but if someone is passing somewhere, they see a coffee, maybe flyer, maybe a coffee shop somewhere, maybe a coffee message somewhere on TV. Okay, they'll be like, you see what would they? But at least they have seen it. Then next time when they see it, they react to it. Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's not like back in the times when we had only Kawa coffee. That's the only
coffee
thing we
Kawa Nguvu.
Now we know a bit more about coffee.
Yeah.
Well, if you've just tuned into the show, this is the Coffee Break Show on House of Talent Television. The Messiah is back. He's here with us in the studio. He has been out getting converts, and you've seen some of the converts on the show. We've been having really very good discussions, and today we're going to discuss some more stuff with Amon in the studio. But we'll take a break right now. But remember, we are live on our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Twitter. Make sure to tune in. If there's someone who needs to be watching the show, just let them know we're on. We're going to take a break right now. Don't go anywhere. Grab a cup of coffee. We'll be right back after this.
I think most female feel like being a barista is more of a male job, or being a farmer is a male thing, or being a quality controller. Yet they don't know that there are other perfect people that we are looking at. So we want to bring this gender equality into the coffee business. I would thank this the International Women Coffee Alliance. It has really done a very good job to encourage women into the coffee business. When you look at coffee farmers or coffee processors, most of them are women. When you look at the quality controllers, they say that women are the best coffee testers. Why? Because they're very subjected to spices when they're cooking. They get a lot of flowers from us. So they test a lot of things, ice cream, yogurt, sweets, what. So they are good cup testers. Yes.
So most of them should actually, you know, take opportunity.
I would actually encourage all the female to participate in the coffee business, whether owning a coffee shop, whether analyzing coffee, barista, farming. We really need them.
Welcome back to the Coffee Break Show on House of Talent Television. My name is Emmanuel Ateng. Remember, we are live on our Twitter at HTV1, that's House of Talent Uganda, on our Facebook at House of Talent Uganda, and on our YouTube at House of Talent Uganda. Live stream, make sure to catch the show. And if you can't catch it right now, you can always catch it later. There will be a replay. But in the house with me today is Amon Mukisa, aka the Coffee Messiah, back from going out there and just spreading the coffee gospel. He's been doing really great things out there with different programs with Endiro, training different baristas. You know, it's always amazing to meet a barista and, you know, you tell him, I know this guy called Amon, and he starts saying, but I know Amon is the one who taught me A, B, C, D.
Yeah, it's a nice feeling, eh?
Yeah, it's always a nice feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today's topic, I think the last show we had Katawazi Gerald inside here, and
it was a nice show.
Yeah, you watched the show. So we were talking about how Uganda is actually the second highest when it comes to coffee production, after Ethiopia in Africa. Okay, and I think the goal of UCDA is to either match Ethiopia or even be greater than that. But we came to the realization that from the past, okay, if we go back to SST in primary school, there was something that we called cash crops. Okay, so we had coffee and then we had cotton. Okay, so basically what the missionaries or the white people did back in the day, they gave us this thought of, when you grow coffee, you want to make money out of coffee. And I think the same thing has stuck till today. If you go, like the example you gave us with that lady that is working with, you know, the Endiro community program, she says they grow coffee at home, but she had no idea that coffee could actually do all these things. Okay, because in their minds, when you grow the coffee, sell the berries, your work is done. They don't realize that we can actually also consume the same coffee. Okay, so our topic for today is how the different stakeholders, okay, have to play their part in this coffee industry to make it better. And perhaps we'll start with the farmers themselves, because that is where everything starts. Okay, we have a situation whereby a farmer has never taken coffee in his life, but he has acres of coffee. Okay, so how can these farmers, okay, play their part in the coffee industry of Uganda to make it get better, to help us become #1 in Africa, but also to make sure that coffee itself in Uganda is really put above, you know, other things like tea and all this stuff?
Well, Emma, to be honest to you, gone are the days when we had farmers who are illiterate growing different crops, growing coffee, growing cotton. These days we have literate farmers who have gone to school, who have graduated in farming practices, agriculture, you know. Last time Ibra was here saying that he studied biochemistry, by something like that, but she's also related to crops or farming. So these days we have literate farmers. So it makes me wonder, why don't we have good practicing methods, farming methods, deep down in our farms, that cannot bring us to a point whereby we're going to reach a certain time and we are falling into a ditch? Okay, if it was like, maybe farmers are illiterate these days, they would say, okay, we need trainings for these farmers. But when you look at the farmers these days, they're illiterate. So I would say farmers need to be trained. Yes, not all are trained, but why don't we utilize these people who have gone to school, who have graduated in this industry, to do these things, at least to train these farmers? But also UCDA, the Uganda Coffee Development Authority, yes, it has tried its level best to at least ensure that farmers know what they do. At least they have done that by at least knowing each farmer in Uganda. Okay, you cannot know each and specific farmer, but like an association that runs them. That's why I've recently called up, like, if you want to start growing coffee in Uganda, you have to register. So this is like a plan, or this is like a strategy to plan for these farmers. Okay, if we have 5,000 farmers in a village, how are you going to plan for them? How are you going to have them grow the best coffee in the village, so that when it's exported or brought to a national level, it competes, you know? So instead of like having a farmer grow coffee anywhere, they harvest it. Okay, that's the Chiboko coffee. They harvest it and then dry it and then sell it off. And you realize that the coffee exports, like in Europe, over 80% of their coffee is exported. Where does it come from?
Africa.
Africa, and maybe more other countries. But those other countries, maybe like Brazil, you find that if they're producing maybe 50 million bags of coffee a year, you find that maybe 50% of their coffee is consumed by the natives. So maybe they're exporting 50%. But for us, we're exporting 80 or 85%. And without added value on that coffee. So these are the things that farmers need to know. Okay, when I'm growing coffee, how can I improve its quality? How can I add a value on it? How can I get the best quality in these coffee cherries that I'm going to harvest? How can I space the coffee tree from the other, not to be affected? For example, I was watching the news yesterday. It's so bad. In Mubende, there is a pest, a crop pest that has attacked coffee trees. It starts from the root. So there's no way how you can see it on top that, okay, Kana kamuli over this flower is being affected by this pest. But for it, it starts from the root. So you just see the plant dying. So it's so bad that it's happening. But if farmers know how to deal with this, at least maybe if I know that my coffee plant is maybe 8 meters or 12 meters away from the other coffee plant, if this pest attacks this coffee plant, the other one, at least it will take long when I realize it early now. So instead of like putting here a coffee tree and then you put the coffee tree next to each other. So such things, farmers need to know them. So that when they're doing this and it's exported, or it's okay, or it's harvested and then brought to the consumption part of it, we don't have a bad quality cup of coffee, or we don't have a bad quality type of coffee that's coming on market. Because at the end of it all, it will affect the overall consumption of coffee or the overall coffee market in Uganda. So the mistake done by the farmer will affect the end result of the coffee consumption or the coffee chain. But the good thing done by the farmer, it will represent the good things. Like at the end.
Two questions before we move on to the next category. One, do you think it would be a good idea for us to put a cap on how much coffee we actually export? Because if we're exporting 80% and we're consuming 20%, okay, wouldn't it be a wise thing to say, okay, you know what, 50% goes out, 50% stays here, so we force people here to actually consume the coffee? You know, what are your thoughts about that?
You see, one thing I love about being a barista is that you get conversations around various people. So last week, as I was on station, sometimes I get back on station and work, you know, because it's a good thing to interact, have that skill going. So this lady works with Uber, the other side in Europe, London. So she comes at my station, she asks for an espresso. She asks me, how much is it? I tell her it's 6K. She's like, what? Your coffee is too expensive here. And yet you sell coffee, you grow coffee here. And I asked her, how much would this amount cost a cup of coffee in London? She told me 6K here. The way you sell your coffee here, in London, 6K can buy 3 cups of coffee. Then I realized that's why in London or UK or US, in those countries, even this person we see that Avelak Street lives on a street can be able to buy a cup of coffee compared to us in Uganda. So to answer your question, I think it's a point of UCDA or policymakers, which is the government, coming up with various ways on how to reduce the expensive what are going to use, like the commodity that you're selling on market. How are you going to value it so that you as a government can benefit, so that you can run the country also, but me as a person who's also buying it, I benefit, like not buying it so much compared to other countries. So policymakers have to do this for us, not us, people who are taking coffee. Because when I jam not taking coffee, the government won't benefit. Because I pay tax on that cup of coffee. I also benefit by maybe getting the healthy part of it and maybe, enjoying coffee. But to help us arrive to this point of like having coffee be reduced in terms of pricing, it's the government that has to do that. Me as a person, I don't have authority. I even don't have a minute authority on that.
Yeah, you see, we're discussing with Katawazi last week, and like today we're discussing, you know, what are the roles of different people, and each stakeholder has their part, and each stakeholder should have their voice. Okay, so we came across topics like, do we even have a barrister association or a barrister forum? Do we have a farmers forum that has a voice? You know, so it's like the coffee industry has so many detachments.
Yeah, Emma, you see, thing is, these things are there. There's a farmers association, there are barristers associations, but the arm that's taking the, I'm not trying to criticize the UCDA here, but the arm that's taking the coffee industry in Uganda is paying so much attention to less important things compared to things that are more important. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Of recent, there was a Dubai Expo. So whereby you go there and you exhibit your things as a country. Rwanda took that whole virtual thing of tourism. Uganda, you know what we took, part of it. But my point is, when we take people out there to expose or to exhibit our coffee, you know the people we took? The people on top were on station, like exhibiting our coffee. Why don't you get a Uganda Barista champion who's there right now, Michael, for example, to go and be on this station? Before you be on this planning level, why don't you take the baristas? Why don't you take the farmers to at least get in touch with these people out there? Because when this person is talking to this farmer, they will feel that, you know, their intuition, like they will feel like they will be connected with them. Okay, you're the person who grows this coffee. How is it like? You're the person who brews this cup of coffee. What challenges do you go through? How can we help? But if you're this person who plans for the coffee industry on top, why would you come back on station? And yet you have various capable people who can do that. So your point of like having different associations and different roles played by different people in different categories of coffee, it's good. But the people responsible to align them is not doing that job.
Okay, perhaps before we go for a break, you know, you touched on something important there. You say that at the expo, okay, they took people from up there, okay, which means that there are people down, you know, on this spectrum that are really not being taken care of. And the role of UCDA and all these other coffee or agricultural associations is to basically see that even the last man, even the person who produces the least amount of coffee, okay, has to be heard, has to be given a voice, okay? So why do we find ourselves in a situation whereby it's only the big people? Is it that the government, okay, is not doing its part in regulating UCDA, or UCDA itself, okay, is not doing its part in trying to control what happens down here?
I would say it's UCDA itself, because in most cases the government will come up to put into action what the UCDA requests to do. Not the government coming to UCDA and it's like, okay, UCDA, what can we do for you? Why don't UCDA go to the government and it's like, you know, government, we have this plan A and B, we need to execute it like this. Please help us, give us funds, give us this and this and this, so that we can execute it. So it's not the government, it's the authority or the department. Because the government put up this department to help this person, to help the coffee industry go back to, you know, when we had the coffee hype back in the 1990s, it was a good thing, everyone was feeling good. But since then, we've never had a coffee hype the way we had it in 1990s. So when the government came up and put up the UCDA authority, or the UCDA arm, it was like, okay, let's use this arm, or let's use this department to at least keep our coffee on top globally. Because Uganda, as you all know it has the best coffee in the world. Just because maybe we don't have the right strategies, the right marketing strategies, the right production strategies to make sure that we've exposed our coffee as the best in the world. So UCDA has to do that.
Has to do better.
Not the government, not me, not the farmer, because the UCDA has to put impact on the farmer.
Yeah.
They put impact on the barista who's brewing coffee. They put impact on the person who's buying coffee to sell it.
Yeah.
That's how it's going to help us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just tuning into the show, this is the Coffee Break Show on House of Talent Television. Amon is giving us his views on why Ugandan coffee is actually not getting to where it's supposed to be, and we'll be getting into solutions. How do we get there, you know, with all these issues that we are facing? We're going to take a break right now, but remember, you can always send us your comments. Be a part of the show. Be a part of the change that is supposed to happen in the coffee industry. We can't change it alone. We have to work with you out there. You're a barista, you're a farmer, you're a roaster. You're just a consumer. You just go, you know, to the coffee shop to take coffee. You have a voice. Let us know down in the comment section. We'll probably be reading that, you know, after this break. But let's get into a break right now. This is the Coffee Break Show, House of Talent Television. Grab yourself a cup of coffee. We'll be right back after this.
My first advice to my students, the people I train, the people I talk to, is that at every stage of coffee, from the farm to the cup, you can gain something. So I first get to know, like, you as you, what's your passion? Is it going to the garden? Is it going to the factory? Or is it like being a supplier? First of all, we are working for people. We're working for people. But our dreams are being self-employed. Yes. So in coffee, if I'm mentoring you, if like I want you to get something good, improve on your life, me, I can pass through roasting. I can teach you how, like I can teach you or train you the part of coffee roasting. So within that process, you like will be making some money somewhere. And where does that money comes from? You buy your coffee, you roast, you pack it, and you sell. Of course, there are many cafes that are opening. We have our organizations here in Uganda, like they are boosting up the consumption. We have business people that are starting up cafes, but there is that gap. There's that gap of supply. There's that gap of supply. Big companies are exporting, but we can also be the big company at our youth stage. We roast our coffee, we pack it, and we sell it. Let me take another example. You can be a good person in computer graphic designing. So when I introduce that idea, you can plan the way of branding that coffee. How we can market that coffee. Yes. So we can at the end of the process, me and you will be having something to put in the pocket, or to save on the account.
Welcome back to the show. We're having a very great discussion with Amon Mukisa about, you know, the situation that is facing Ugandan coffee. You know, why has it stagnated and how can we get it to the place where it's supposed to be? He was giving an example of the Dubai Expo where we really didn't do that good. But also I believe that, you know, it's a point of learning.
Yeah,
you know, we always have to learn from all these things that happen. Just that, you know, it doesn't have to be repetitive, because if we have an opportunity like that and, you know, we repeat the same thing, then we say, we're totally not learning. We had a barrister who came to the show some time back, and he was saying, he also bags his own coffee, and he was saying that when you go to the supermarkets and you give them your coffee, okay, package it really well, and, you know, you make sure that it's really appealing to the eye, okay. They'll get that coffee and put it in the last stalls or down somewhere there and hide it. And the coffee that is put up is basically coffee from outside, okay? And you also have processed coffee, you have stuff like Nescafe that is there, and basically coffee from other countries, okay? So why is it that our coffee is shelved away, you know, down there, and by the time people buy it, it's actually stale? So people have a very bad experience, okay? And they think, Ugandan coffee doesn't taste good, but because they bought a stale one, okay? How do we get those people's coffee to come up to the top of the shelves and, you know, push the others, not way down, but, you know, put ours up there? You know, what part do those people play? The coffee, the supermarket guys, you know, the suppliers and all this?
You see, Emma, I've never really been a fan of buying coffee from the supermarket, or even supporting coffee to be sold in supermarkets.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Coffee is a perishable good. You never find those guys in the supermarkets giving attention to coffee just like the way they give attention to maybe apples, maybe flowers. Never. You know, sometime back, you know Maurice, do you know Maurice Kia? He's also a business guy, besides being a musician, and he's in coffee. So he was asking me about that whole idea of taking his Sound Cup coffee into supermarkets. I'm like, Maurice, you've been in this industry for quite a while.
Yeah.
When you go to buy coffee in the supermarket, what's your experience? Compared to buying coffee, maybe from a coffee shop or a coffee brand that you know you're buying that coffee from. So that when something goes wrong, you can trace it. Okay, that whole part of it is a specialty in the other side of coffee. But in this type of business, when something goes wrong, it's like buying a product from Cafe Java's. Maybe you've bought a cake, and then you find some part of it is not well prepared, but you're just outside. You have a right to go back to Cafe Java's and say, guys, look, see what happened. But now you've bought a product of Cafe Java's in a supermarket, and you found the same challenge. Where would you go? When you go to the supermarket, guys, and you're like, you know what, guys? Look at your cake.
It will be a long process.
Yeah, it will be a long process. And that's time consuming. But the thing is, I would suggest that having coffee in supermarkets, okay, it's not a bad idea, because it's helping us expose or improve coffee awareness. Because people, as they're going around the store, they will see coffee. Okay, kanukachi, it's a coffee bag. What's inside? Let me buy it, maybe. But in terms of quality, no. I give it a 0 over there. Because when you have coffee in a supermarket, you're not monitoring it. You don't know how those guys are handling coffee. They even maybe don't know anything about coffee, you know, compared to having a coffee product or a coffee bag in a certain coffee premise or a coffee shop or a coffee company, and they know that, okay, you know what? This is our coffee. We roasted it on Monday, which means by Monday next week, it has to be done. Those are the methods that such companies have to use. Compared to taking your coffee in a supermarket, and it's going to be put down in a shelf, and I come, maybe I'm buying Anodi's coffee, you know, it's like, okay, Anodi's coffee is good, I've tested it, I've had good reviews on it, let me go and try it. On reaching home, trying it, you're just running down, you know. Yeah, so it's not a good thing to have coffee in the supermarkets. If it's possible for you to have your coffee sold in your premises, please do that. That's one thing actually I would advise people to do. Like, if you are a coffee producing company, the fact that you have funds of roasting coffee, packaging it, branding it. Basically, you've gone through other chains of coffee, like for it to be as a final product. Why don't you get a space? Why don't you get an online platform? Because that's what we're adopting these days. Have a cameraman. Have nice shots taken. Have a website. Okay, that's expensive, but you can start with Instagram, you can start with Facebook, you can start with Twitter. Have good visuals. Put the price tag. Put the contacts where they can call you. Market it well. See whether you not sell that coffee and people like your product. Compared to taking it in a supermarket, and it's going to take 3 months without buying that cup of coffee. And when they buy it, they will say, "I know this coffee is bad." Yet in actual sense, your coffee is good. So just utilize those spaces. Utilize the information that you get here on the coffee break, at least to make better decisions when you're dealing with coffee.
Interesting. Amon, you're a barista and you've been doing this for a while. You're also a trainer. And one of the issues we've had, actually, some guys have talked about it on the show, is that most baristas have, I like to say, half knowledge. Okay, they only know their part as far as comes to the station. I can make a cappuccino, I can make a latte, I can make an espresso, I can talk to, have a good relationship with my customers and my boss. And that is mostly where their knowledge stops. Okay, that brings into question, okay, what are we doing in these coffee schools? Because for someone to totally understand what coffee is, all right, they have to get a complete understanding. And to understand what coffee is in Uganda, you have to understand coffee from the past, okay, what has been happening, what are the different developments, what are the different organizations doing, okay, what kind of research. We had a guy called Owen who was on the show, said that he was doing a lot of research in coffee, okay, but you find that baristas actually don't know this information, okay. So you as a barista, okay, what can we do to make sure that baristas don't have only on-station knowledge, but have a wholesome kind of knowledge when it comes to coffee, especially in Uganda?
Well, let me ask you a question. Just a brief one.
Did
you, when you went to school, to a journalism school, did they tell you how to interact with me, to say the exact words you're saying to me right now?
No, they didn't tell us the exact words, but there's a structure.
Okay. So my point is, in coffee schools, they're going to give you basics. They're going to show you how something is done. Then it's your initiative to go down the road of research, curiosity, and get to know these things. Because the 3 months or the 2 months you're at that coffee school, you're not going to exhaust everything. Never. Never. You just have to be so much self-oriented that you're going to make yourself make research, read about things, ask questions, and learn. That's how you're going to know this information. Because in coffee schools, like you said, they teach them how to be, okay, like you said that baristas know how to make a cappuccino, just interact with maybe a certain dealer has come on station, they interact with him, and that's all. And then they go back home. But they have forgotten that they have to read about, okay, why am I using this cup of coffee, or 250 mils of cup of coffee, or 180 mils of cup of coffee? Why is it that I have to hold coffee a certain way? Why is it that when a customer comes to me, I have to leave what I'm doing somehow, and I first give them attention? Then we can go back to it if at all, they want to stay for longer as we interact. Such things. So when you rely on only the information that you got from schools, Muluganda wagamba nkusasidde. So that's it. You just have to make more research on your own so that you get to learn more things. Then compare and contrast them. How do you do that? Ask questions for people who taught you or people who are above you. Because even me, there's a certain lady called Millie. I tend to ask her, she's a coffee genius. She's a lady. I tend to ask her a lot of questions. I bug her with questions. And sometimes she's like, but Amon, I can't believe you didn't know this. But there's the fact, I didn't. I just wanted to know. So she just assumes that I knew, but I didn't know. So that's one way. You just don't have to assume that you know everything. No. You don't know everything. You just have to ask. For example, if you went to a certain school, the teacher or the tutor who taught you has a lot of information, but the way of disseminating this information to your small head of yours, because it's a lot of information, they can't put it into your head at one day or in two days or 3 months. No. So as you work on stations or in the company you're in, get time, visit this guy. Say, okay, you know what, Diallo, I learned about this. How is it like? How best can I do it? They say here that you have to put maybe 70 mils to get this amount of coffee as a result or yield. Is it true? Then this guy can give you his perception. Then you can go back and read. Then if you find something that backs his perception, take that. That's how you get to increase on the information.
Interesting.
As a barista.
Someone said that, you know, there is what we call YouTube University.
That's how YouTube University is only used by the people who understand it. Because when you go to YouTube University, there is a lot of information there. I can wake up one day, I go on YouTube, I bring my camera here, I look into that camera, I start saying whatever I want. I don't care whether it's true or false. So that's why I'm like, only wise ones who go to YouTube University.
Well, if you've just tuned into the show, we're talking to Amon about, you know, the different part that the different stakeholders play when it comes to this coffee game, the coffee value chain. We've talked about the baristas, we've also talked about the farmers, we've talked about the supermarkets, which tend to push our coffee down in the shelves, and by the time we have an experience with it, it's really not that good. We have talked about how to promote, how to market the coffee using our different social media websites. If you can start your own website, that's a really good thing, to be a good plus for you. But if you're looking for ideas, you're looking for, you know, different perspectives on what to do with your business, if you want to get into the coffee business, this is the best show for you. We're coming towards the end of the show, but before we get there, just a couple of more things. We've talked about the baristas, okay? I think one of the areas we really never touch about are the CEOs, okay? These people who open up the coffee shops. Some actually.
No, we touched about them.
Yeah, we touched about that. And knowing that now they have been in a hard spot. They haven't been making money. But now you get the good news that, you know what, we're opening in January. Okay? And your mind starts running to, I need to make money from my coffee shop. Okay? It's good that some of these guys are actually baristas or roasters, but some are just businessmen. Okay? For them, they know, I'm going to put a coffee shop, I'm going to make money. Okay? So what part do they play? Because if I'm just concerned about making money, I won't really care about, you know, what happens in the shop. I'll leave it to the head barista. I don't really care what happens, you know, with the farmer. All I know is that my coffee needs to get here at a certain time. Okay? So what's the part that the CEOs play, especially those who know nothing about coffee?
Well, the part that CEOs play is the same part. When you literally bring it down, it's the same part that UCDA has to play, generally in the coffee industry. So CEOs have to be able to provide what the specialists are saying. For example, if you have a company of coffee or cocktail, you're in a coffee business, do you have a structure of advisors? People who advise you on how best you're supposed to do things. For you, yes, you're there to make final decisions, giving money and make money. But do you have people who know what you want and can be able to put it into action? That's the one thing. So if you don't have that, it's going to be really, really hard for you next year. Because you find yourself, you're struggling to make ends meet, but you're not. That's why, by the way, you saw various coffee shops that opened up 2019, closed 2021. 2021 they're closing. Because they didn't have structures. And those that had structures are still standing. Take an example. Enduro Coffee. It has structures, it's still standing. Cafe Pub, it has structures, it's still standing. Cafe Javas, okay, some people say it's not a cafe, it's a restaurant. Yes, but it has structures, it is still standing. Okay? New Cafe, it has structures, it's still standing. All those coffee shops, all coffee businesses that existed, created structures that helped them in states like these ones. So for CEOs, what I have to advise you is, one, please get structures that will help you in sometimes that difficult decisions have to be taken, because you won't make a certain decision without consulting this person who's in the farms, down in the farms with farmers. How is coffee that side? Because now I was getting certain information that coffee in Elgon region is becoming scarce these days.
Yeah.
And I quite believe or suspect that in the coming years, like 2 or 3 years, coffee is going to be more expensive. Because now, the fact that now it's becoming scarce, you know, Elgon region is one of the areas that give us most of the coffee, then Rwenzori, then Central. So that's Western or Rwenzori. So when we have different people in different departments who are seniors, specialists, they know what to do. For you just here, CEO, of course, a certain company, you're seated somewhere in your office. You're just waiting for a certain Diallo to come, Emma to come with different ideas and different suggestions, and then in your wise mind you see, okay, this is a good suggestion, I can go with this. That's how you're going to survive. But otherwise, instead of you coming to maybe a coffee shop and you see people all over your coffee shop, you're like, okay, business is booming, business is booming. But at the end of it all, after 3 months of opening up or 5 months, people will be nowhere. Maybe because coffee is bad, maybe because the surface is bad, maybe because the infrastructure is bad. So all such things have to be put into consideration.
Well, our time is fast spent. I know that we can talk,
Yeah,
you know, we can talk, you know, forever about coffee. But thank you for coming onto the show. And just before we leave, okay, what are your next plans when you get out of here? I know it's a weekend, you know, are you going back to the coffee shop?
No.
Probably you have a date, we don't know about. See you looking all fresh, you know.
No, I'm just going to have a GNN shoot because I have someone to host. 2 p.m. So yeah, I'll be hosting him, shoot an interview with him.
Okay.
Yeah. Then that I'll go and watch a football match. Man United.
Yeah, Man U supporter.
Man U supporter. Now these days we have the best coach around.
Well, we'll end that show right here. But
it's good. It's good that I'm back on the show. I've been missing these conversations. I know we've been trying to get in touch and have this conversation. But it's good that we've had it, and it's good.
Well, I'd like to say welcome back.
Thank you.
It's good to have you back. For those of you who have been thinking of where the Messiah is, well, he's back, and it's a good thing that he has come back to the show. Maybe next weekend he'll be the one, you know, hosting the show with whoever we'll be having in the studio. But thank you for giving us your time. Thank you for staying with us on the Coffee Break on House of Talent Television. I know you must have heard Amon saying the statement, a certain Diallo. Well, that certain Diallo is the one who makes us look good on the cameras. He's the one who does everything in the studio. And we'd like to say thank you to him. Thank you to Isma, who's there also on the switcher, you know, making sure that, you know, he shows you one side and the other side also. And basically, they're the guys who make things work here. And to the whole crew, basically, we just want to say thank you to you guys. Remember, you can always comment. We are live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, HTV1. Make sure to comment, like, let us know if you have any questions. But until next time, have a great day. Grab a cup of Ugandan coffee. Not other coffee, Ugandan coffee. We'll see you next time.
my first advice to my students, the people I train, the people I talk to, is that at every stage of coffee, from the farm to the cup, you can gain something. So I first get to know, like, you as you, what's your passion? Is it going to the garden? Is it going to the factory? Or is it like being a supplier? First of all, we are working for people. We're working for people. But our dreams are being self-employed. Yes. So in coffee, if I'm mentoring you, if like I want you to get something good, improve on your life, me, I can pass through roasting. I can teach you how, like I can teach you or train you the part of coffee roasting. So within that process, you like will be making some money somewhere. And where does that money comes from? You buy your coffee, you roast, you pack it, and you sell. Of course, there are many cafes that are opening. We have our organizations here in Uganda, like they are boosting up the consumption. We have business people that are starting up cafes, but there is that gap. There's that gap of supply. There's that gap of supply. Big companies are exporting, but we can also be the big company at our youth stage. We roast our coffee, we pack it, and we sell it. Let me take another example. You can be a good person in computer graphic designing. So when I introduce that idea, you can plan the way of branding that coffee. How we can market that coffee. Yes. So we can, like, at the end of the process, me and you will be having something to put in the pocket, or to save on the account.
final games coming to an end. We're waiting for the playoffs, and from nothing at the beginning of the year to a lot of basketball towards the end of the year. Today, with me to discuss is the coach of Livingstone Basketball Club, based in Makerere University, Mr. Eric Matovu. Very welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Eti.
Yeah, it's very good to have you here.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I know that coaches have a very busy schedule, standing in the sun from morning and all these things, but thank you for coming through.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Mr. Eti.
Every time we call coaches, I know that sometimes you have busy schedules, but just taking off time to come and discuss the game of basketball and the development of the game in Uganda is a very good thing. Going through your profile, I know that before, you ended up with the Livingstone Basketball Club.
Yeah, true.
You were coaching the Lioness, that's the girls.
Yeah.
You also coached Watoto.
Yes,
I also know that you have a basketball academy that you're working with. So your life is basically filled with basketball. So you wake up, eat, sleep,
we live and breathe basketball.
So outside basketball, right? Is there any other job you do, or it's 100%?
I think it is 100% basketball. I'm a teacher.
Okay.
I'm a teacher at British School of Kampala, and I'm a PE teacher.
Yeah.
So apart from that, also another job that I do it's a full-time job. I'm a married man.
Yeah.
So I call it a full-time job. I'm so proud of it. So I think basically that is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So growing up, did you ever think, this is what I want to do in my life? Because I know that our parents tell us, you have to be a doctor, you have to be a lawyer, and then you ended up somewhere being a basketball coach, which in Uganda is not seen as a very serious thing.
Absolutely.
So what was it like for you growing up? What did you think you'd actually become?
I dreamt of being a pilot,
yeah,
and that's why I did MEG at A level. Ended up doing a lot of accounts.
Yeah.
I'm an accountant, but you see, this world will push you to ends that you won't even think of.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I chose my passion, and I'm pursuing it passionately.
Yeah.
So we live and breathe basketball, and it's what we're doing. That is what is bringing bread on the table.
Yeah.
To me, I am enjoying it.
Yeah.
It is so nice. It is so nice.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So talking about your basketball journey, you've coached a couple of teams, especially in the lower divisions. What was your experience like? What was your first experience coaching? I remember my first experience was they just threw me out there in the deep end and said, that's the team you're coaching. And I had very little knowledge about basketball. At that time, I was just more of a player, not a coach. But I had to learn really quick, how to become a coach and a player at the same time, So how was it for you? How did you end up? Where was that start of your coaching career?
Oh, I started with matching the shooters, and to be honest with you, I built them from scratch, and up to first division. We worked with Roger Seronyugo, and we brought it up. But to be honest, it was a roller coaster. It is a whole lot of learning. When you start to coach. And I believe basically that it is you, the coach, who learns more, even the players that you're coaching, more than the players that you're coaching. So it really humbled me, and it made me become a man. I usually tell my players that, if you want to be the greatest player out there, you've got to behave like a servant. If you don't have humility with you, and you don't have the discipline to push you, you cannot go any far. Those are the things that will push you. I tell them, I usually use one phrase, that you see all these accolades, the degrees, the profiles that you have in life, they will take you somewhere. But can they sustain you there? I don't think so. So it is your character at the end of the day that is going to sustain you in that place. I always tell them, if I call for a training session and I tell you being at 3 or 4, why don't you be there earlier, 15 minutes to time or 30 minutes to time, and the coach finds you when you are good to go. You are ready. You put in some work already. That shows that you know what you want in life. So it is a very, very learning experience, Mr. Eti. It humbles you, and it makes you become a leader in life.
Interesting. So it's always exciting to know the journey of a coach, where they started from and where they are now. And every coach has their own philosophy. Some maybe you copied from someone else, but what has been your coaching philosophy throughout this time that has carried you basically to this much success? Because different coaches have different philosophies. So what is that philosophy for you as a coach?
Me as a coach, my philosophy is literally, you know, a mixture of very many.
Yeah.
I'll look at very many coaches. I'll look at very many coaches from the university. I'll look at the Mortens. I'll look at very many coaches abroad. I'll look at Phil Jackson. I'll look at this one. I'll look at this one. Then I'll come up with my own.
Yeah.
I won't say that I have a definite philosophy because I mean different players react differently to different philosophies. You may carry a philosophy, but it won't work for certain players.
Yeah.
So you have to adjust as a coach. You have to know who your players are. What are they able to pull up and do? You won't say, I'm so rigid that this is me, my philosophy is I only play a transitional game.
Yeah.
A transitional game, and that is what I'm going to do. So you find players who cannot run. So what are you going to do? But they are very good on the ball, but they can't run, they're not athletic. So won't your philosophy change?
Yeah.
So I'm a combination of very many different philosophies from different coaches,
Yeah.
and I usually execute my philosophy according to the players that I have
Yeah.
in that structure or in that program at a particular time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of coaching, the coaching fraternity in Uganda has always had a lot of pressure on them. We've had FIBA instructors coming in to take coaches through certain clinics here and there, but it's never really more than a month. Okay, and I believe that you can't really learn everything about, you know, coaching basketball within a month. Okay, and in some instances, people say that our coaches are not that good, we're not that experienced. Take an example of the Silverbacks. We had to go outside Uganda to get 2 coaches to come and help with the national team. Okay, so what's your comment on coach development? Okay, we'll talk about player development later, but coach development in Uganda, where are we lacking, and what do we need to do to make better coaches actually in the country, so that we can grow this game of basketball?
I think we are somewhere right now. I think we have very many coaches that are really experienced. I'll be honest with you, and I believe we do even have coaches that have reached the level 3 of FIBA, not per se on level 1 or level 2. They have a lot of experience, but it's just because of the structures that have been in place. The structures have not were not on our side to be there and exposed and get these certifications and all the things. But I can assure you, Mr. Eti, that we have very many coaches that are really doing a very tremendous job out there. Very many coaches. When you look at the time they're putting in, the resources that are available on the table for them to execute whatever they're doing, I think we are somewhere. I'm just curious if we had the same resources like people abroad, I think would be far. People are so passionate about this game. People love this game. They literally do basketball a lot. So at the end of the day, there isn't so much difference between them and us right now. Honestly, I don't believe even that we should be jumping so much on players from abroad and all that. The players here can do the job. They can do the job. It's just because maybe we're getting a little bit ambitious and all that. But what I know is with time, even our players, homegrown players, we're going to be having them on the national team and they'll be representing like 90%. 90%. So we have very many good players. Very many players are coming through, and it's a good job that they're doing.
So during the time of the Silverbacks, when they were playing the tournaments in Rwanda at the AfroBasket, there was a group of people that believed that we should actually have only homegrown talent on the Silverbacks team. And yet others were of the view that it's okay to bring players from outside. Okay, some of them, if they're actually Ugandan, some who are naturalized. Okay, so which camp were you in?
I would say I'm Ugandan a little bit, even myself, but the dynamics change, Mr. Eti. When you look at the players that are coming in, who are playing from abroad, the Ishmael, the Opongos, the Wad, I think they added a lot of value to our team. Let's be honest. But it doesn't mean that we won't get there, even homegrown talent. There. But you look at the confidence, the way they were playing and all that, they added a lot of value on our team. So we can't take it for granted. We still needed them. Yeah, we do. It was a very good addition to have them.
Yes, backtrack a bit, still talking about coaches. You do realize that in Uganda right now, if I'm to say, there are about 3 female coaches and only 1 in the NBL. Yeah, Coach Mavita. Yeah. So, do we have a situation whereby there is we're not encouraging the ladies enough to get into coaching, or the ladies just don't want to get into coaching because of certain issues here and there? Some people say that ladies do not want to get into coaching because the emotional side takes the best of them.
Because they're driven by intuition all the time, that's what we're saying. But the truth be told, I'll be honest with you, I think the ladies have been laid back so much. They've been given chances. I mean, even National Council of Sports calls for very many ladies courses, and they've been given chances even to improve their administration skills and all the things. Template that we are on also eating from. It's just because, and we have very many who have played the game, but you see most of them the moment they go into other institutions like marriages and all that, they tend to be caught up so much, and they won't have the freedom that we have. Most of us, we can juggle here and there, but the ladies, most of the time, you realize that, you know what, there is so much on their plate, they have to do this, they have to do that. That's why most of the time they don't evolve in the game like how we are evolving in the game.
Okay, interesting.
But given more resources, given more structures, more encouragement, and from the federation, the federation is also trying, it's doing its part. So I think we'll have the numbers. We'll do have the numbers, absolutely.
Speaking of the federation, I actually wanted to jump there next. For the whole year, actually, on this show, okay, we've been trying to analyze the different problems that the federation has, okay, and one of the biggest issues we saw was the issue of finances, because if you look at the campaign of the Silverbacks, you know, the qualifications for AfroBasket, then the saga that happened with them in Rwanda, where they didn't have enough finances to even pay for, you know, the hotels, okay. So according to you, you've been in Ugandan basketball for a while. You know, I know that you have a perspective that you need to give. You have a different kind of analysis. What are some of those problems that you see FUBA as a federation is facing in Uganda, and why have we really failed to develop that much as other nations in Africa? Yet, we have actually one of the best leagues in the African region. Okay, so what are some of those problems that FUBA has that has limited the growth of basketball in Uganda?
I think if we do not nail down a concrete sponsorship package, I think that is where all our problems are starting from. I remember way back we used to have MTN, and they could give us jerseys and you know, this airtime. Remember those days, when you used to play for that airtime, that passion, you know, playing for that airtime. You know, it was a small package, but it was coming in. And then, you know, Airtel comes in and everything changes. Then we start to miss out the jerseys and everything. So I think we need a concrete sponsorship. I think all our problems are starting from the finances bit. So if FUBA can get some sponsorship, then I think our league will be the best in Africa. Will be way better.
Yeah, but I mean, one can argue that we actually had sponsors. There's a time MTN was on board. There's a time Tascalite was on board. We had Airtel on board at a certain point, you know, but we ended up losing, you know, all these sponsors. And right now, I think the game of basketball actually does not have a sponsor. Apart from the last year's playoffs where UAP came and actually sponsored the playoffs. Apart from that, you know, we lost all the sponsors.
Absolutely.
Okay, so...
And it's affecting us, especially us who are dealing in the lower league a lot. It is really so hard on the people running these teams, the managers and everyone. They have to meet here, chip in for transport for players, you know, allowances and all that. It is really a hassle. So we need sponsorship in the lower division.
Young people at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying, I have a foot amongst the millennials. And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand. Remember Prince?